Hello, I am Brad Marsh with Agilic Support, and in this video I'm going to be showing you and demonstrating for you how to use content templates. Content templates is an easy way for a publisher or for a school district to sort of manage and enhance the student experience with your course content. And we do this by allowing an administrator to control the styling, the layout of the content that is available to their students, and also making it very easy for teachers and other authors to create this content. So right here we're looking at a content template, but you might think, wow, how would I ever do this? The course author, actually the only thing they provided is this information, this information, this, and that. The boxes, all of that has been created by some administrator. So let me give you a quick look of what this looks like. The content template, when it's been delivered and it's been created, just provides nice little easy options for that course author or that teacher to fill in the blanks, essentially. Providing the title of the activity, by providing us a subtitle in this case, by deciding what information should go into that panel and what information should go into that main content or that body. And by doing this, by keeping it really simple for these course authors, they don't have to worry about CSS or styling. They don't have to worry about, oh, how do I make this thing appear on the left, or how do I make this thing appear on the right, or how do I display this icon or this logo with my content. All this stuff can be configured for them. And then it's really easy for them to create new ones. So if I just jump over to the editor, I can go and say add to a new course, select content templates, and choose the template that best meets my need. So for example, if I want content template, and let's say this is a review type of activity, and I want the panel to appear on the right side, I select that, say add and edit, and then I change my name. I put in a subtitle, some panel content, some main content, and then I am done. Now if I preview this activity, we can see all that information got placed in there. It knows I'm using a review activity, so it shows the correct image for that. It placed my title right in there, my subtitle right there, my main content right there, and my panel content right there. So the benefit of content templates is really to allow your brand to be throughout all of your courses, but also to have an easy structure for teachers to create their own content, or course authors without having to design their content, but use the templates that you have provided them. So in the following videos, I'll be showing you how you can install an example package, configure it, and make it available to your teachers. Now that we understand what content templates are, let's go ahead and install the example file that is provided. So once you download the content templates.zip file, you'll need to unpackage it or unzip it, and then you'll be given this folder called content templates. Let's go ahead and open this up, and let's look at this briefly. So I'm going to just point out what each one of these files are and what they're for. So we have two different folders here. We can see we have this folder called upload a course and upload to domain resources. The upload to course has 3 files in it. So these are the actual HTML files that we'll be using to create our content templates. We'll talk about this more in a later video. The upload domain resources is what we're going to focus on right now, and we're actually going to go through the steps of uploading this. Let me point out just what these different files are and what's the purpose of these different files. So the background.png, this is a provided example of a background image that you could use for your templates, and I'll show you how to configure that later when we talk about customizing the CSS. The default logo.png is the default image to use next to each activity title. So this would get displayed within the content template, and this is the logo. So it could be a company logo, it could be a book logo, it could be a logo for what your content templates to look like. Now this is the default logo. This isn't necessarily the only option that you have for logos. We have this one folder called logos. Now within here we have two different options. So I'm going to show you 3 different variations of the content templates, one using this logo, one using this logo, and another one using this logo, and show you how to configure each one of those. And then we have this folder, which is called Note of Sans. This is just a font that is very friendly to various different languages for internationalization or localization of your content. And I happen to be using it in my example. And then I have a script.js just to handle some functions or some actions with the HTML file, a style.css, and a template styles.json. These 3 files are referenced in the course HTML files. Now the reason why I'm going to be uploading all of this stuff up to the domain is because I want to be able to update these at any time and have it reflected everywhere that those content templates are being used. So the content templates could be copied, manipulated, used by thousands of different activities in various different courses, and I update that style CSS and every single one of them just received an update. And so that's the benefit of hosting these in like the domain resources and just linking to them or referencing them in your individual courses. So let's go ahead and upload these into the domain. So the domain I'm going to be working on is this content template demo. I'm going to go over to resources and I'm going to create a new folder for my content templates to be hosted in. And I'm just going to create a new folder. I'm going to name it content-templates. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump to that, and I'm going to open up my Finder, and I'm just going to drag and drop all those files that are supposed to be uploaded to the domain resources right in here. So we can see that it's creating all these files. It's created the logos. If I go back up to the content templates folder, we can see that it's uploaded each one of those files and then uploaded the resources for the font Note of Sans as well. Alright, now all these are uploaded, and that's all I need to do at the domain level for uploading these resources. Now that we have the domain resources uploaded, we are now going to configure the HTML files that will eventually be loaded into the course to deliver them as content templates or as activity templates. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up each one of those files. So we have 3 different files. We have a content template left panel, content template no panel, and content template right panel. I'm going to open up each one of them in my preferred HTML editor. Okay, so once this is open, we can see that there are a set of instructions, 3 things that you're supposed to do when installing or when using this file. So let's focus on this first one. It says to update the URLs for styles.css, script.js, and templates styles.json to the full URL of where the resources are uploaded to. These are actually 3 files I've already uploaded, and if we go open up Buzz again, we can see they're right here. There's script.js, styles CSS, and template styles.json. So I need to update the URLs. Now these are example URLs. These example URLs works underneath this condition. So let's say your domain is 123, so that's domain ID. Let's say you put it into a folder called content templates, which I did in my case. I created a new folder called content templates and I uploaded them in there. And my Buzz API URL is api.agilisbuzz.com. And that way I can format my URLs into this similar format. So https://api.agilisbuzz.com, and then resource, and then the domain ID 123, the folder that the resources exist in, so content templates, and then the name of the file. Well, these are just the example URLs, and if they meet this condition. Now I know they do not meet my condition. For example, the domain I uploaded them to is domain 1135.62626, and so I need to actually update this file to replace 123 with my new domain URL. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this up. I already have it programmed in here for it to do it for me. So I'm just replacing everywhere that says 123, and I'm going to replace it with my actual domain ID of where I upload those resources to. So I'm going to change it there and save it, and then I'm going to change it here as well and save that. So if I come back to this first one, we can see that it uploaded everywhere. So if each of your files were hosted by this domain, this is your URL. Well, the place that you would actually be changing it is down here in the code. So you can search for style.css, script.js, or template styles.json to locate it, but I can also see that they're right here. So here's my style.css, here's my script.js, and my template styles.json. And so we can see that I've already updated the URL to reflect, but if you wanted to host your files in a different location, then you just need the full URL to each one of these files respectively. But mine's already updated, so mine is good. So that's all the configuration I need to do with this HTML file right now. You need to make sure that you do that correctly, at least for step 1. Now let's move on to step 2 real quickly. So it says define the URL for the folder where the logo files will be uploaded. In my example, and the example that I'm identifying here is if the logos were hosted in domain this, and it's in a subfolder called logos, which it is in my case. If I show you that again, we can see that I have this folder called logos, which is inside of content templates, which is accurate here. And then my Buzz API URL is still api.agilixbuzz.com. Then your logo base URL. So what I'm supposed to do is come down here to this logo base URL and update this URL to reflect my folder of where my logos will be hosted. Now the reason why we're defining where the folder is because later we'll define which logo we want to use. So in theory you can upload any other logo you want into that logos folder, and you just need to know the file name to be able to reference it later on. So right now my HTML file is completely configured, and I'm going to go ahead and upload this into a course. So let me jump back over to Buzz. I'm going to go over to courses in my domain. I'm going to create a brand new course, and the reason why I'm going to use a brand new course is because every activity in the course is going to be available to my authors to copy. And so I want to be very explicit about it, making sure that I'm just sharing the resources that I want them to be able to copy. So I'm going to go to more, I'm going to press new, and I'm going to call this course content templates. And I'm going to just select that and jump into the course and go to the editor. Now what I'm going to do is upload the resources to this course. So let me go to resources and open up my Finder, and I'm going to go and select those 3 resources, and I'm just going to drag them over into here, and we can see that the 3 resources have been uploaded. Now I did skip step 3 of that file, so if I jump back over here we can see here's step 3. Now this will be necessary in this next thing, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this. So it says when creating an activity template, add the following string to the URL parameters for the activity. Now this will only need to be done on initial setup, so you shouldn't have to do this after you set it up. But let me go back into Buzz, and so right now we have these 3 HTML files. Now I need to actually turn them into content template activities. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually drag and drop these resources over into the syllabus. So let me go and add them, and I'm actually going to add 3 different versions of each one of them, and you're probably wondering why I'm doing that. Well, the reason why is because I actually have 3 different variations of them because of the logos. And so the logos can be indicators of what kind of activity it is. And so I'm actually going to be creating 9 different activities based upon these 3 templates. And the reason why is because each one of the activities for each one of the templates will have their own logo. So I'm going to go and open up this activity. And I'm going to give it a title. This is what's going to be seen by your course authors when they want to copy the resource. They can change, they'll obviously be prompted to change the title, but they can keep it if they want to. I'm going to call this content template with no panel. That's a file it's based upon. And this is where I paste in the string, that URL parameter for their URL parameters. Now this is what's happening here. So we're passing in a value, an attribute called item name, and it's going to be replaced with a variable called item name, which is just the name of the activity. And then here we have the logo file name. And so you replace this with the file name of the logo that you uploaded to the logos folder in my particular example. Well, I want this one to be the default one, the one that just has the default logo. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Now I'm going to come over to the Settings tab, and underneath the Advanced Activity options, I'm going to go ahead and select this activity as a content template. Now if I switch back to the Activity tab, you can see that it looks different. Before you saw a link to a file, but now you just see a place for a subtitle and a body, a rich text editor for the main content. And you can see this is the name of this content template. It's the name of it is actually content template with no panel. I'm going to go ahead and press save on that. Next, I'm going to open up the next one, and I'm going to go through the same process, but I'm going to refer to those two different logos that I have. So I have one called presentation. Now the name of that file, the name of that logo is presentation.png. So I'm going to come down here, and in the URL parameters, I'm going to go replace this, and I'm going to say presentation.png. I need to come over to the settings tab and say this is a content template activity. Go and press save. Now I'm going to come here and do the exact same thing. And I'm going to call this one review. That's the name of the logo. So maybe this is a type of an activity that the student's supposed to just review something, and the other one's more presentation based. And then I'm going to come in here and paste that in there, and I'm going to call it, my logo file name is review.png. Need to come over to settings, change this into a content template, and press save. So now I want to show you what this looks like. So I'm going to come over to the activities, and if I look at this one, we can see that the default logo, which is just an apple, was displayed, and right here is automatically injecting the title of the activity that you're looking at. Let me give you an example of what that looks like. So if I change this, it will get automatically reflected here. So we can see content template with no panel with change. It's automatically injecting whatever the name of the activity, so the same one that's over here, that's displayed here, is also displayed here within the content. And so if you're on full screen and you don't see that thing on the title, you still have the name of the activity listed in the body of the activity itself. Let me go ahead and remove that with change. And go ahead and press save. Now I'm going to go and look at some of these two other ones. Now each one of them should have a different logo. So remember, this is the apple. I'm going to go to the presentation one, and you can see that the logo is of a screen. It's a presentation image. And then this is the review, and we can see that's this target. And so each one of these has different logos, and so you can visually give a distinction. So you could create a single content template, have multiple logos associated with them, so that each one of them can represent a different content template. And so let me go back to the editor. Now I'm going to do this again, but I'm going to do this for the left panel now. Okay, and I'm going to come here and come here. Okay, so let me grab that thing I need to copy and paste in. I'm going to open up each one of these individually again. And down here in the URL parameters, this is going to be the default one, so just the default logo it's going to use. And I'm going to go over to settings, make this activity content template. Now I'm going to open up the next one and go through the same process that I did for the no panel one with the left panel. And I'm going to call this the presentation image. That's correct. I'm supposed to do presentation here. I need to make this a content template. Alright, that's done. Now I'm on my last one for the left panel. And now I'm going to have to do this 3 more times for the right panel. So you can see that I have these 3 content templates, and each one of them is referencing the same HTML file. So if I need to update the HTML file, I just upload the new HTML file up here, and these content templates, since they're pointing to it, will automatically reflect that change. Okay, so let me go ahead and come in here. And this is the content template with right panel. This is the default one. Turn that into an activity or into a content template. And now my very last one. Alright, so I've done all 9 of those now. Let me jump to it and make sure that they're set up correctly. Okay, so Apple, this should be the presentation logo. This should be the target. So you can see that these ones are the no panel, so that means the panel that doesn't exist on the left or the right or the top or bottom. This one has a panel on the left, Apple, because it's the default one. This one should be the presentation panel on the left. This one should be the review with the panel on the left. Now we're panel on the right, Apple, because it's the default one. Presentation, so yep, right panel on that. And then right panel and review. Perfect. So all of these content templates are uploaded. They're all configured to be content templates, but now I need to make them actual activity templates that teachers can copy into their courses. Alright, so right now I have all my content templates set up and configured. I have my course resources uploaded, my domain resources, and now I need to configure my domain so that my teachers have access to these. So I need to go back to my domain, and I'm going to go to the settings, and under settings we have activity templates. So I'm going to go ahead and select add. Here you get to define or select the course you want to have available to your teachers to be able to copy individual resources from or activities from. So I'm going to go and select the course I want. I'm going to select content templates, and you provide any name you want to be displayed or the representation of these content templates. I'm going to actually just call them content templates. I'm going to go ahead and press done. So all of these resources will now become available to my teachers once I press done. So that is done. Let me go ahead and select save. So it's going to prompt me that I need to refresh my browser. So let me go ahead and refresh my browser. And I'm going to go over to courses so I can show you how teachers can start using this now. I'm going to create a new course. So I create my new course. Let me jump into this course and go to the editor. Now every time I add to this course, since I added a new activity template, it's going to show up with its display name right here. So content templates, that's what I called it. And now I see that I have those 9 different resources available to me. So I got the content template with no panel all the way to content template with right panel review. And I can select the correct template for what the kind of content I am creating. And so let's say I want to be able to create one with the presentation. I want it to be the left panel. Now remember, when a user selects one of these, they're actually doing a copy of those resources. Now the only resources that will not be copying are those domain resources. But all the other resources, so the HTML file itself is being copied. So that means if you go and update it, again, you update that content template, that user will only see that if they happen to copy that into their course again. So I'm going to go ahead and select this, and I'm going to change the name. I'm going to say my content, and I'm going to say add an edit. Now we can see that I named it my content. I can come down here and I can give it a subtitle because this is what this content template has. I could say here is my subtitle. Here is my panel information. And then down here is my main content. And I'll go ahead and press save for that. And I can go and preview this. And you can see that the content that myself as a teacher I've added exists within the structure and exists within the style that has been provided to me by the authors of those initial content templates. But you can see that my thing came in here, my title came in here, is using the presentation logo. I have a left panel with some information inside of the left panel, and then I have my main content with my body of content within there. So we just showed you how you actually deploy those content templates and create them into activity templates so that teachers can author and bring these templates into their courses. And it becomes really easy for them to edit. They just fill in the blanks and it will look nice. It will look within your branding and in the style that you want. But now I want to show you some additional tweaks or changes that you guys can make without having to re-upload additional resources. So let me go and jump back to where my content templates are. And let me go into the editor for that course. And so let's say I need a little bit more content I want to provide to my users, or you know what, maybe I want to provide them with some additional templating. So you can, while modify the HTML file itself, but maybe you just want to do some pre-fill in the blank for the users. Let's take this presentation left panel as an example. I'm going to come here and I'm going to say duplicate this activity. And then we're going to see that it gets duplicated down here. Now, when I've done this, what it's actually done is copy that resource. It created a brand new file of that HTML file. And the benefit of that is now I can go and modify this specific one without impacting the other ones. So I'm going to call this one left panel with hints. And it's still using the presentation method. So we can say, hey, you know what? Provide a good subtitle. So that's a little hint that we're giving to them. And maybe down the panel we want to tell them, hey, you know what? We want you to say, here's the purpose of this lesson that you're looking at, and let's say we want you to do bullet points with it. So bullet 1, and we're going to call this bullet 2 and bullet 3. But I want to bold this. And maybe, you know what, you want to provide them even more information and say, oh, you know what, we expect time to complete. So we want to inform the end users how much time this activity will take to complete. So 10 minutes, let's say 10 to 30 minutes. And let's bold this. And then down here, maybe in the main, we want to say subheading body, and then subheading body. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to change the style of this. I'm going to give this a heading 2. Okay, and so right now I'm going to press save, and we can see that a new content template has been made available to my users. So now if I go back to that course where I was copying this information into, go to editor, I want to bring in an additional content template. I'm going to come here and I can say I want this one with hints. Assignment, I'm going to call this an assignment, press add and edit, and you can see it's already pre-filled. I just need to change things. So, oh, this assignment actually is going to take 15 minutes. The high end maybe is 25 minutes. Put in this is the purpose of this assignment, you know, sort of list out the different objectives, and this is objective 2, and this is objective 3. And then I come down here and I put in my paragraph content. I change what my subheading is. I go and press save. And then I go over to activities and we can see that it fits within the style. It's been pre-filled, and it just sort of helps me as an author know, oh, what goes in this body, what goes into this area. And so every single time they copy that, they can always be hinted of what things they should. Now with the way that I did it, where I just added it into those existing text boxes, they can delete it. They have that option. They still have that flexibility, but it allows you to create additional content templates where they can glean from, where they can learn from, and they can use into their courses. So what I like to do now is sort of go over the HTML syntax for content templates to give you a better idea of how to use them. You can look at the How Do I Use Content Templates article. Underneath section 1, it talks about the different attributes that you can specify. So we have metadata buzz template name, you have data buzz text, and then data buzz content, and a couple others as well. But I want to show you what they actually mean and what they look like. So let me go ahead and shrink this, and I'm going to go ahead and open up because I'm happen to be looking at the left panel right now. So let's go ahead and open that up and bring that over to this side. Let me show you where all these things are being used. So right here we have this thing called data buzz template name. Well, what this is used for is for the title of the type of content template. So it's called content template with left name. Where this is actually used in the UI is right here. You have your title for your activity, and then when you get down into the content area, there's a little subheading here that displays the name of that content template type. And so whatever name you happen to provide there. So that's where that gets displayed. Now down here we can see there's a few more things that are editable. So we got a subtitle, we have a panel, and then we have a main. Well, if you look at the HTML file, you can find each one of these things. So right here, we have this div right here, and then it says data buzz text. By being data buzz text, it makes it just a text string. They can just type in text into this field. And it happens to be right here. And so you don't have a rich text editor, you just have an option to type in. And you can choose what you want this to be displayed as. In this case, we're saying subtitle by right here, by defining what the value is. And so we're calling this subtitle. And we could change it to anything else, and it would be represented right here. Down here, we have two containers. We have one called DataBuzz Content Panel, and another called a DataBuzz Content Main. And so when the author actually is editing within the Buzz UI, they're actually just populating inside of this field or inside of this div tag. And so here for the panel and here for the main. And so you can make any edits you want, and it will actually just populate right within there. But since it's called DataBuzz Content, it has a full rich text editor features and options. Now above here, we also have this DataBuzz Styles ref. Now, if we look in here at the help article, if I scroll down, we'll see that you have options to define page styles. The way that I happen to be doing it is by using predefined styles using an external JSON file. What this does is it adds additional buttons onto your rich text editor. In my case, I'm doing predefined styles, and I happen to create one for the paragraph style. So it's a new paragraph style that you're allowed to do. But you can also do it for image styles, for link styles, table cell styles, and inline styles. And this is how you define it. Let me actually show you what my example is. So if I open up this, we can see that I just included this just to keep track of the version info. But this isn't going to be used by Buzz. It's this particular section that's going to be used by Buzz. So what I've done is I've created 3 new paragraph styles. One is called study callout, one is called study callout heading, and another one is called study callout closing. Well, what happens is when a user selects one of these from the UI, it applies these classes to that object or to that paragraph that you are specifying. So let me go back into Buzz, and you can see that I've created these 3 additional headings, and here they happen to be represented. So we have this thing called paragraph style. Now the purpose of this is a study callout. So let's say here is some content, and then I want to have this callout. So let's say this is vocabulary terms. And then down here in vocabulary, we're going to give a definition of a word. And so I'm just going to type some information in here. Well, now what I can do is I can apply styles to these. I want to make this a callout. And so I've done this with my own CSS. I'm going to make this a study callout. So you can see that it does this border around it, and you can customize the style. Well, I want this to be a heading, this very first one to be a heading. So I'm going to go and say, hey, make that a heading. And this is a closing. This is the very last paragraph I want included in this. So I'm going to go and make that a closing. So right now we have this nice little box for the study callout. And so I did this by creating my own paragraph style. And I'm applying these classes to it. And then in my CSS file, I'm defining what do I want those callouts to look like. So let me go ahead and just click preview on this. And so you can see, oh, that's what it's done. It's created this little study callout. By using the paragraph styles for the JSON file, I've been able to take over, or I've been able to inject custom buttons into my rich text editor. And so if I go back to my HTML file, we can see that I'm linking to that JSON file, and I can load them in. I could do them inline and everything. Once again, I like doing the JSON, and I like posting it in the domain. Now if I look back at my HTML, we can see that I'm pointing to my JSON, which contains these different paragraph styles. And the reason why I'm hosting it separately, while I could do it inline, I'm hosting them separately so they can be updated at any time. So anyone that happens to be using my templates already, I can update this JSON file and they can receive additional styles or new options within their rich text editor. So here we have an activity that was using a content template to provide a title, provide a subtitle, some information in the panel, as well as some information into the main content. What I'm going to do is show you how you can customize the style of this, customize the look of this, and relatively easily. So if you go ahead and open up the style.css in your preferred text editor, let me go ahead and open mine up. We can see that here at the top we have this entire section called variables. It starts on line 3 and goes through line 50. I do not recommend editing anything below, but only things up here at the top. Up here is what we call variables. Now variables are used in this CSS for you to be able to make a couple of tweaks and adjustments and have it apply to everywhere that thing happens to be used. So let me give you an example. The heading font family. Up here with this very first section we have font. Let's say you don't want Noto Sans to be the default font or Helvetica to be its backup font or Arial sans serif. You could provide your own. So you could say, hey, you know what, I want it to be Times New Roman. What you need to provide is in the CSS syntax for font family, you would need to provide what that font should be. So this particular one is the heading font family. Over here you can see what descriptions of what each one of these things apply to. But I just want to show you how you can make some quick changes and have it apply to everything. So let's say if I go back and look at what it looks like, we can see everything's using the Noto Sans, which looks like this type of font. Let's say I want to change all of that and I want it to be Times New Roman. Okay, so we'll say we want that to be Times New Roman. Now let's come down to font color. So this is actually the color of the fonts. I actually am using the same font color, so let me teach you this one thing. So these are called CSS variables, and I'm using a variable within the variable itself. Right here, for example, I'm saying that the body font family, or the font family for the body font, like the paragraphs and the divs and the spans, I'm saying I want it to use the variable called heading font family. So I'm actually using the same one over again. You can specify unique ones, but I'm happening to just say use the same one. So down here, and we can see that the font family for code, I'm just using monospace. Now down here we have font colors, and we have background colors, and then we have sizes, images, and text. Some text things you have here. So let's just make a couple of changes. So I'm changing the font to be Times New Roman. Let's say I want the font colors to be a little bit different. I want to change, say, the body font color. I want this to be black instead, and actually it's just like that. I want it to be black, so you can provide in the name of the font color, or you can provide in the hexadecimal value or even the RGB or RGBA values for that. So I'm going to change that to black. You can see that, so that means that all this font right here, it's a gray, is going to change black. Let's say I don't want rounded edges. So that would be underneath the sizes, and that's called the container radius. The default size is 20, so let's just say, you know what, I want that to be 0. And even on a small screen, I want it to be 0. So it's going to become really boxy. Now let's say I want to change my background colors. Let's say I don't like this color. I think it's a coral color. Yes, a light coral. So let's say my header background color, I want it to be actually be blue. Whatever your branding color might be. So that's going to turn blue. I want this thing to turn, let's go a really light color for that panel. Let's do teal. Yeah, so teal is a color. you know, that's going to not look good. Let's lighten it up a little bit. Yeah, let's go with that green color. Okay, so I'm going with a green and a blue. What other changes do I want to make to this? So down here, I want to change the body background image. So remember, I've uploaded a file, and let me actually show you what it looks like. I've uploaded this file called background.png. So maybe you want a background image for your entire thing. I'm going to use URL background.png. And the reason why is because I uploaded this background PNG to the same folder that my style sheet exists. So I'm just going to use background PNG there. And then I already have a default logo, so we'll leave that as is. And then down here, this is the text for the footer text. So we can, if we looked at it, we can see down here we have this copyright thing. So you can make this change in one location and it will appear everywhere. So we could say, hey, notice it's Acme. Acme Inc. and have a great day. Let me go ahead and save this CSS file, and I'm going to come back to here, and I'm going to go back to my resources, and we can see that I have an existing style CSS file here. It's on version 7 right now. I'm going to bring in a new version. So just drag and drop it in. You can see that the version number just increased. I'm going to come here and I'm going to navigate away, navigate back to it. And you can see I have that background image now. My boxes aren't round anymore, they're just square. And I changed this to green. Down here in the footer it says copyright 2019 Acme Inc. Have a great day. And so you can make all those changes really quickly by just altering that style sheet and then re-uploading it. And wherever it happens to be referencing that, no matter where those content templates exist, wherever but if they're referencing that style sheet, they'll automatically receive that update. Now I should warn you that background images do cause your users to download an additional resource. And so you want to be very aware of that so that you're not causing them to download really high quality images that may take a lot of bandwidth from them or may slow down the rendering of the page.